Welcome back to another banger, ladies and gentlemen. I got a nice videos for y'all today, man. And what's a good time to start talking about our best ally in the Middle East? Israel is controlling Trump and nobody is noticing it. I love her videos, but let's be honest, everybody notices. All right. And just to let you know that everybody notices that even Tucker Carlson himself has admitted, and he is one of the biggest, the most influential journalists out there. And even he said Benjamin Netanyahu himself is in Tel Aviv bragging to everybody that I control Donald J. Trump. And if you don't believe him, well, also understand that Charlie Kirk wanted to stop Trump from bombing Iran. And we all know that he ended up doing it anyway on the behalf of, you guessed them, our best ally in the Middle East. And there's a CIA who also admitted that, well, Benjamin Netanyahu also threatened that if America does not get involved, that they will resort to using the nuclear bomb. And so it kind of makes sense. Why? Because Iran can literally wipe out the state of Israel in a blink of an eye. All right? They're literally, like, without America, Israel is nothing. So with that introduction, let's go ahead and listen to this video, and I'm gonna go ahead and get my commentary on it. Let's get it.
June 16th, 2015, Donald Trump descends the golden escalator and announces he's running for president of the United States.
We will make America great again.
America first. That was the promise. Well, fast forward to 2025. Americans are working multiple jobs and still can't afford rent. Our bridges are crumbling while we send billions overseas. The swamp continues to bury the truth in redacted Epstein files. The American dream feels out of reach for millions. Meanwhile, President Trump received the Theodore Herzl Award, Israel's highest civilian honor for a non-citizen, named after the founder of political Zionism, by the way. And just this week, Mark Levin, one of the biggest names in conservative media, called him
our first Jewish president.
So what happened between that golden escalator and this moment? How did the America First president become the Israel First president? Is Trump being controlled by Israel? Well, I did some digging into this, and let's just—
No, he's being controlled by Muslims. Muslims are taking over this country. Man, look at them. Go to Dearborn, Michigan. They're all over that place. Ugh. They're the one that's changing laws, putting ban on speech. Even recently in Australia, they decided to put ban on speech after the horrific incident that happened at the Bondi Beach. I'm just saying, Muslims are in control.
Say that by the end of this video, you might just see our so-called America First president in a whole new light, because it's genuinely scary how deep this goes once you look past the surface. So let's start with the facts, because before we talk about why Trump has been so loyal to Israel, you need to understand what he actually has done. And the policy record is undeniable. So in 2017, Trump announced he would move the US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And in 2018, he did it.
It is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Now, this might not sound like a big deal, but it was huge, okay? For decades, the US position was that Jerusalem's status needed to be negotiated as part of a peace deal. Both Israelis and Palestinians claimed Jerusalem as their capital. So by moving the embassy, Trump essentially said, we recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. End of discussion. Palestinians and much of the international community saw this as the US taking Israel's side and killing any hope of a negotiated settlement. Then, in 2018, Trump withdrew the US from the Iran nuclear deal and imposed crushing sanctions on Iran. Now, this was one of Israel's top priorities. Netanyahu had spent years lobbying against the Iran deal, and Trump delivered. In 2019, Trump went even further, okay? He recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, territory Israel captured from Syria in 1967. Under international law, it's considered occupied Syrian territory. No other country had recognized Israel's claim to it until Trump. And in response, Israel named a settlement in the Golan Heights Trump Heights. So there's now a settlement.
I mean, my question really is this, right? With all of us knowing that Trump is being controlled, my question is, how long has it been getting controlled? And was it really his idea to move the embassy into Tel Aviv? I mean, it's a genuine question because there's a lot of mystery when it comes to these politicians. You know, we don't know exactly how long it's been since they were being controlled, because that's the whole point of being controlled, is that the outside don't know about it. It's only you and the person that's controlling you. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of keep it hush hush. Now, with his second presidency, obviously they needed more control over him. Do they have more blackmail over him? I don't know. With the whole entire list coming out and the whole entire Epstein file being released, and we now finally see some of the stuff that Trump has been doing, the stuff that we have been able to redact, even though the DOJ have not been able to do their job properly. And we now see that, holy shit, this dude is a straight up criminal. If you don't know, if you can't tell me he's a criminal, you tell me what a criminal is, really, because he was a witness of somebody who was unalive, all right? A baby that was unalive. He was a witness to that, right? And on top of that, a lot of the stuff got redacted. If he was somebody who is, sparkly and clean and stuff like that, he hasn't done anything bad, why have they redacted anything that has anything to do with Trump? And the ones that have not been redacted and people caught onto it, they actually took this back and actually redacted it and then put it back out there. So the whole thing is a joke. That's all I gotta say. The whole
after
thing.
An American president. Now, that same year, Trump also cut funding to UNRWA, which is the UN agency that provides aid to Palestinian refugees. He reversed decades of US policy by declaring Israeli settlements in the West Bank legal. And he signed an executive order defining anti-Semitism in a way that includes criticism of Israel.
And also keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen, although the world has woken up for the past 2 years now due to what's going on in Palestine, you have to understand that these people have far more access to information than us normal people do. So they knew what was going on in Palestine. They knew the damage that the Israelis were doing to the Palestinian people. And despite all the information out there, despite the warning of previous government and whatever, previous people warning us about the state of Israel, yet Donald Trump still shook hands with these people, still recognized the state, still sending more bombs, and, just doing everything imaginable to just bend knees to the state of Israel.
In 2020, Kushner brokered normalization deals between Israel and several Arab countries. Now, these were called peace deals, but just wait until you hear what happened behind the scenes and who profited. But we'll get to that in a minute, okay? And now, in his second term, he's continued this trajectory. He's involved in ceasefire negotiations, but critics say his approach still favors Israel's security concerns over Palestinian rights. So the policy record is clear, right? Trump gave Israel everything it asked for, more than any modern president. So now the question is, why? Why did Trump prioritize Israel's interests so completely? And the answer starts with what always matters most in politics. Money. Because if you want to understand anyone's priorities, you follow the money. This is Miriam Adelson. She's a billionaire Republican megadonor.
Now, before I continue, I made a video in my last video about the whole entire Epstein file, right? And one thing that I put a lot of emphasis on is the fact that you can't really bribe billionaires with money. You know what I'm saying? You really can't. And so Trump is a billionaire. Him taking $200 million from Miriam Adelson, yes, that's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. That can change so many people's lives. But at the same time, I'm also recognizing the fact that they have something on Trump. And money, him taking $200 million is pretty much like a fog. You know what I mean? As a way of saying, the only reason I'm allowing them to do this is simply because I took $200 million. When in reality, they also have something else on him that if he was not to obey, if he was not to, bend knees to the state of Israel, perhaps they would have probably in front of hundreds of millions of people. For example, he survived 2 assassination attempts. That right there is an example. And then, of course, with the release of the Epstein file, we now realize that they have even far more dirt on this guy than we possibly can imagine. But yeah, everybody was talking about the $200 million. That's like change. That's like pennies in his pocket. Let's be honest. Trump is already a billionaire.
And she has one political priority above all others: Israel. But this isn't just about one big check in 2024. No, this is a relationship that goes back years. Okay, in 2017, when Donald Trump was inaugurated as president, Miriam Adelson was right there by his side. She and her late husband, Sheldon Adelson, were major funders of Trump's 2016 campaign. They gave tens of millions of dollars. But let me tell you about Miriam Adelson's background because it explains everything. Miriam Adelson was born in Israel. She served in the Israeli Defense Forces. And her life's work? Well, promoting Israel and Zionism. In Las Vegas, she founded a school, the Adelson School, and this school does something really interesting. Every morning, students recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag, and then they sing the Hatikvah, which is the Israeli national anthem. The Israeli and American flags fly side by side there, and the school explicitly states its mission is to instill a strong connection to Israel and unequivocal Jewish values. Miriam has said she goes to the school specifically to hear the kids sing Hatikva, and that it brings tears to her eyes every time. Now, there's nothing illegal about that, but it tells you where her
Unless you're a Muslim, then that is definitely illegal.
priorities are, right? And those priorities haven't changed. In 2024, Miriam Adelson donated over $100 million to Donald Trump's campaign. $100 million. That makes her one of the largest single donors in American political history. Trump has publicly acknowledged her loyalty to Israel, saying she cares more about Israel than even about America.
I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once. I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say.
I might. I mean, for her, are you fucking serious? Might? They give you $100 million so that way you can allow them to do whatever the hell they want to do in Palestine. And now you're sitting here, that might mean Israel. Man, shut up, bro.
And he said that like it was a compliment, but also kind of like he shouldn't be saying it. You know what I'm saying? But here's what you need to know. Miriam Adelson didn't just write a check and walk away. No, she has very clear priorities when it comes to Israel. Adelson has publicly advocated for Israeli annexation of the West Bank, occupied Palestinian territory. In 2024, multiple reports claimed her support for Trump was tied to this issue. Her spokesperson denied that her donations were formally conditioned on annexation, but here's what we know for certain. Her longtime confidant, Rabbi Shmuley, told the New York Times she opposes the establishment of a Palestinian state. So whether or not there was a formal quid pro quo, her political priorities are crystal clear. And those priorities align perfectly with the most hardline pro-Israel positions possible. But it's not just Adelson. No. Since 2020, pro-Israel PACs and donors have spent over $230 million benefiting Trump's campaigns and affiliated groups.
That is where I got the $200 million from. So yeah, just FYI, it's not only Miriam Adelson. All right, I mean, $200 million, whew, that is a lot of money.
That includes AIPAC, which I'm sure we're all familiar with at this point, but that's the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, which has become one of the most powerful lobbying forces in American politics. AIPAC.
Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, AIPAC is not the only one. Yes, it's the most influential one, but let's be quite honest, it's not the only one.
AIPAC spent millions supporting Trump-aligned candidates in 2024. Their strategy? Well, support politicians who unconditionally back Israel.
AIPAC Shakur, that's the name Charlemagne gave
2024. Their strategy? Well, support politicians who
this dude right here, I forgot his full name.
Unconditionally back Israel, oppose anyone who questions that support. And it worked. In 2024, 98% of AIPAC endorsed candidates won their races.
The results are in. George Latimer defeats incumbent Jamal Bowman.
Incumbent Republican Bob Good has been defeated by challenger State Senator John McGuire.
Missouri Democratic Congresswoman Cori Bush, known for being part of the Squad, will no longer serve in Congress next year.
Now, I want to be clear. This technically isn't illegal. This is how American politics.
They're literally bragging to your face, like, holy fuck, dude. I mean, and when I turn on X, all I hear is, oh, Muslims are taking over America. Oh, Muslims are this. Oh, Muslims are that. And me as a Muslim who is studying the Quran and understand the context of the verses that these dumb asses like to take out of context, I'm just like, oh, you dumbass. How can you not see the truth right in front of your own eyes? You know? And you guys want to buy into that. And so what I'm trying to say is like, you won't know the truth if you keep buying their narrative until it is too late. Your entire freedom is going to be taken away before you even notice it. You think Muslims are the ones who are really taking over your country? I mean, let's be honest. Really? Muslims are encouraging Christians to go to church. Muslim encourages people to be more religious based off of the way we react. I mean, we pray 5 times a day. I've heard people saying, wow, Muslims are very, very passionate about their religion. And because of that, they become more motivated to, practice their religion even more. When has Israel ever done that? Instead, they mock your God. But Muslims are the enemy. That's all you need to know.
works, apparently. But when you're trying to figure out why American foreign policy looks the way it does, why we send billions to Israel every year, why we veto UN resolutions criticizing Israel, why certain policies get prioritized, well, you have to look at who's funding the politicians making those decisions. And in Trump's case, the money is overwhelmingly coming from people whose top priority is Israel. Not America. And if you're just now realizing how deep this goes, hit that like button and subscribe because we're about to go even deeper. Now, let's talk about family. If you want to understand Trump's Israel policy, you can't ignore his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner and Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, go way back. Like, way back. Netanyahu used to stay at the Kushner family home when Jared was a kid. They have known each other for decades. So when Trump became president, he made Jared Kushner his senior advisor and gave him a major role in Middle East policy, including...
People don't really understand how geopolitics work. You have to understand that whatever Benjamin Netanyahu is doing in Palestine is because of these people right here. Keep that in mind, all right? Benjamin Netanyahu, the way these people operate is they have to create a smokescreen so that way your attention is, is focused specifically on something that is, well, irrelevant, I would say. People assume that Benjamin Netanyahu, although he brags about the fact that he controls Trump, and this dude cannot do anything without the approval of these guys. Why do I say that? Simply because, well, they're the one who's funding the whole project. People like Miriam Middleton, Larry Edison. I forgot that dude's name. The one that just got done buying TikTok. He is the biggest donor to the IDF, and this guy resides in America. His company is run Oracle is run in America. Palestine does not have any natural resources in the sense that they can literally live without the need of other countries. The criminal charge, Benjamin Netanyahu is under investigation. You guys do realize that, right? But yet you don't hear that these guys are under investigation. You don't hear that the owner of Oracle is under investigation. Why? Simple. Because Benjamin Netanyahu is the person that is picked to be the person that gets all the heat. If he goes out of office, guess what? They already have somebody else lined up. This is how these people operate. So in order for you to break down the whole entire domino pieces, you have to go to the root of the problem. Who is funding him? Who is telling him to do this? That's all you need to know.
Israeli-Palestinian peace efforts. Think about that. A guy with no diplomatic experience whose family has deep personal ties to the Israeli prime minister was given significant influence over Middle East peace. Kushner's big accomplishment was the Abraham Accords, normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab countries like the UAE and Bahrain.
The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and His Highness, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the United Arab Emirates, will sign a treaty of peace, diplomatic relations, and full normalization.
Now, these were framed as peace deals, okay? But here's what's notable. The Palestinians weren't even at the table. Now, why does that matter? Well, because for decades, Arab countries said they wouldn't normalize relations with Israel until there was a resolution to the Palestinian issue.
And Benjamin Netanyahu said that there will never be a Palestinian state.
Specifically, Palestinian statehood. The Abraham Accords flipped that script. These Arab countries agreed to normalize relations with Israel without requiring any progress on Palestinian rights, statehood, or the occupation. So
before October 7th, Saudi Arabia was getting ready to sign the Abraham Accord. And that is one of the reasons that prompted the Palestinian to carry out the October 7th attack.
From Israel's perspective, this was massive. They got legitimacy and normalized relations with Arab states while maintaining the status quo with Palestinians. No concessions, no land returns, no progress on a Palestinian state. So the Palestinians were completely sidelined. And that was by design. It sent a clear message. Israel doesn't need to resolve the Palestinian issue to have allies in the region. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After Kushner left the White House in 2021, he started a private equity firm. And then 6 months later, Saudi Arabia invested $2 billion in Kushner's firm. $2 billion. Critics called it a massive conflict of interest. They said Kushner used his positions in the White House to build relationships that he then cashed in on after leaving. Kushner's firm also received investments from Qatar and the UAE, countries he dealt with directly as a White House advisor. Now, this is what people mean when they talk about the swamp. You know, using government positions to set up lucrative business deals feels pretty swampy. But there's one set of clips that really shows you how Kushner thinks about this region. Okay, I want you to watch these. So in 2024, Jared Kushner gave an interview at Harvard where he talked about Gaza. And listen to how he describes it.
Once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. So my sense is I would say, how do we deal with the terror threat that is there so that it cannot be a threat to Israel or to Egypt, right? I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. I mean, Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up. It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
He talked about Gaza's valuable waterfront property and how it could be very valuable if you clean it up. He's talking about one of the most densely populated places on Earth, where over 2 million people live. And he's talking about it like it's a real estate opportunity. Now, he said this after October 7th, after the war in Gaza had started. But the mindset he's revealing, looking at this conflict, and seeing real estate potential, tells you everything about how he thinks. But there's another clip I want you to see, okay? Now, this is Jared Kushner being interviewed on 60 Minutes alongside Steve Witkoff, Trump's Middle East envoy and longtime friend of Netanyahu.
Well, part of the plan is the reconstruction, the rebuilding of Gaza. And your builders, tell us more about the plan and how much it's going to cost. Where's the money going to come from?
Now, I've heard this interview. I want you guys to pay very, very close attention here because this tells you everything you need to know about the Gaza war. I will elaborate more after this.